It's November 2021, and over the last 18 months, you've been following the restoration of 1995 GT, the right-hand drive short wheelbase that was one of the first two Ferraris delivered to the UK by Colonel Ronnie Hoare. As you can see, the car is under a cover as we're about to reveal it, because today we have three very, very special guests here at DK Engineering. We've got John and Fiona Drake. Fiona was the right-hand lady, if you like, to Rufus Air, the original owner and person that took delivery of the car and did all of the original initial mileage in it when it was brand new. Many people remember the car as being Richard Colton's car for many years, which is absolutely the case, but the first owner was Rufus Air. He was from the south of England, based in Bournemouth, was a motor dealer and a close friend of Ronnie Hoare, and he took a bit of a risk, took a bit of a gamble buying this new Italian sports car, helping the Colonel found his Maranello concessionaire's business, which off the back of the first two cars that came to the UK, he was given that concessionaire by Ferrari themselves. Of course, we've returned the car to its absolute original specification, as it would have left the factory, as Rufus would have taken delivery of it. So today we've got John and Fiona here, and Fiona was his right-hand lady, if you like. She helped run his business. She was his assistant, she was his accountant, she was his secretary. We've also got his great nephew here, Jim Air, who's super enthusiastic and passionate about cars, and they're all really, really excited to see the car. But first of all, we're going to go and have a conversation with them to learn a little bit more about the background of the car and what it was all about when it was brand new for Rufus Air. So Jim, Fiona,
Yes.
John, thank you very much for coming. So Jim, your great nephew?
I'm a sort of great nephew. I think strictly speaking it's a cousin, but
With a couple of removals maybe.
my great grandfather was the brother of Rufus's father.
And Fiona, I described you in my introduction as sort of right-hand lady to Rufus Air.
I suppose so,
Is that
yes.
an accurate description?
I would think so, yes.
And so you had a long relationship with...
Yes, I started working for him in October 1986, and towards the last few years I was literally a surrogate member of the family, really, in a way, because we used to sit and talk and everything else, and fortunately I found out a little bit extra about his background.
And as a man, Rufus Air, he was, as I understand, quite a shy gentleman.
Yes, he was. He would never sort of blow his own trumpet or anything like that. And he was interested in everybody, but any information about his background, you literally had to drag it out of him and everything. And he would not say, oh, I've done this or I've done that. It would only be in conversation that I might say something and that he would comment on.
And he was a car man, through and through.
Through and through, yes. Yes, yes.
That really, and he's also into boats, wasn't he, as well?
Yes, yes. We own a boatyard, and he was into boating.
I see.
Mm.
So coming to own the 250 short wheelbase or order what was effectively one of the first Ferraris to come to the UK, and quite a motor car to buy, because it was at the time the premium flagship model.
It was, yes.
What did he tell you about that then? I mean, obviously he was a car dealer at the time, but he was buying from another dealer and another brand. How do you think that came about? And
I think he was just interested in Ferraris, and he was a lifelong member of the BRDC. So, and we did find, when we were clearing out all his stuff, cards and correspondence from Sterling Moss and Dear Rufus and Regard Sterling, yes. And so he's all got all that background and everything. And I just think he decided he wanted something. Yeah. And apart from buying different houses to live in, cars and boats were his thing.
And so, do you think that he had a relationship with Ronnie Hoare, being a Bournemouth area?
He didn't say, but I would assume so. I mean, he lived at the time in Southbourne, which is on the outskirts of Bournemouth. And I cannot believe that he wouldn't know.
Sure. Well, I've always been under the impression and feel that 1993 and 1995, of course, this car, the first two short wheelbases to come to the UK, that they would have been very much cars for the Colonel to test the water, to see what the appetite was like. And I imagine that he spoke to some friends and said, look, buy this car, we'll have it as a demonstrator, and if there are, some people that are interested, it will help me get the concessionaire.
He didn't do much about talking to friends. If he decided to do something, he would do it
Really?
himself. Yes.
That's very good.
Yes.
Very good. And so we come on to the number plate then. So tell me about the number plate and how that all came about last year.
Well, the number plate RU20, when this car came into the country, and then Ronnie Hall was awarded the concessionaires, he said to Rufus, have this number as a thank you. I mean, at the time, specific number plates weren't as widely recognised as they are, in the last few years. But it was just a nice number. It was a Bournemouth number, and Ronnie Hall gave it to Rufus just as a thank you, because he was able to set up the Ferrari concessions and everything. So it went on the car, and when it went on every single main car of his.
So his premium or his premier Ferrari that he had at any one point in time
was
for the rest of his life,
was
always on
RU20.
RU20.
Yes.
Because naturally we haven't got much documentation that it was on this car, and I think it confused a lot of the historians out there that have followed the short wheelbases through the years. But I think Rufus's ownership was very private and discreet.
Yes.
So how do we know that this car had RU20 on it then?
Well, when I was trying to find out specific information for you, I asked the last remaining director of the company, and who at the time would have been working for Rufus when he bought the car. And I saw him and I said, I need to know about the Ferrari, the red Ferrari. And he immediately said, RU20. He knew.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I made sure about that. I didn't say RU20, I just said the red Ferrari, and waited for his comment.
Very specific.
Yes.
So, well, we're very grateful to Rufus
Well,
before
when
he passed away, letting us have the number plate.
I obviously told him about the auction and how much it had gone for, and he said, "Oh, I should have kept that." And I said, "Ha ha ha." And we both went, "Ha ha ha." But and also where the money was going to, which he was delighted with. And then after a while, he said to me, perhaps because RU20 by then, he was no longer driving and the number plate was on retention. And he said, I think it might be an idea if that went with the car, because that would then complete the history. And I said, fine. And I said, well, how much do you want for it? And he said, no, just tell them that they can have the car. And if they would like to give a donation, and
to Great Ormond Street.
To Great Ormond Street.
Yeah.
And
so fast forward this year, we've been able to do that.
And that was it. Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So if Rufus was alive today, he would be absolutely thrilled. I can't wait to see it.
Good. So you told me another story about the collection from the factory. So Rufus didn't go himself to collect
No,
the
he
car.
didn't. It's not the sort of thing he would just go and collect. He got the managing director of his company to go and pick it up. That was Bob Horning. And he picked it up from the factory. And I'm not quite sure, because he died in '97, and it was he that told me this story. So it's got to be before that, over 25 years ago. So I can't remember exactly where. But he was still in Italy, and he was driving the car, and suddenly he was pulled over by two police on motorbikes, and he thought, oh goodness, what have I done wrong? And anyway, they just wanted to look at the car.
That was it. They were intrigued. And so he got out, which was very difficult because he was a very big bloke. Anyway, he got out and let the police sit in the car and have a good look at it, showed them the boot and under the engine bay and everything else. And then he was allowed to carry on. Excellent.
So that was just a little bit of the history.
And so, John, your years of looking after Rufus's cars, you know, was he a car nut right till the end, do you think?
He was a real car nut. That was his only interest. And I think that the cars were above the boats.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm.
Yeah.
And what was the last car that RU20 featured on then?
997 Turbo.
Which he had brand new.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh yeah, nothing was ever second hand.
But it's back on a Ferrari now, so
Yeah.
I can't wait
Yeah.
to show it to you guys. You're gonna love
yes.
it.
Yeah.
But
Even the gardener said he had 3 Ferraris. I said, well, what colours were they? Well, he said, I think one was red. Well, you know it.
Yeah.
He said, and then a white one arrived and another blue one. He said, well, I think that's what they came in.
And that would have been the short wheelbase.
yes.
The white one's a
30.
250 Pininfarina,
That's
250 GTE.
Yeah, then
So he could put a
330.
shopping in
Yeah.
because the short wheelbase boot wasn't big enough.
But
Yeah.
yes.
And then a
yes.
330 GT2 plus
Yes.
2, which was
yes.
blue.
Blue. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Nice problem to have. Isn't it?
Yes,
Exactly. Yeah,
yes.
well, to buy a Ferrari to go shopping in because
Yeah.
the main one
Yes,
isn't
yes,
generous
it's a bit-
enough in its boot
Mm,
capacity.
yes.
Yeah.
But no, he just loved cars.
Yeah, he really did.
And we used to have long conversations, and when it used to get technical, then John was involved.
So we were having a flick through the file earlier,
Yes.
and obviously we've discussed the fact that he was a car chap.
Mm.
But he drove the cars as well, didn't
Oh
he?
yes, yes.
I mean, this car he did lots of London to.
Yeah, yes, he used to have to go to meetings in London, but he used to go there and in the Ferrari, but he enjoyed it, while he had it.
And C Corner Garage then. So,
Yes, that
so-
was our main garage that we owned. But after he was demobbed, and his background, when he was in the army, he went to Singapore to help with the repatriation of prisoners of war
Right.
from Singapore. And when he came back, he decided he wanted to do something himself. And he bought a little garage at Purewell Motors, and then after a couple of years, then bought Sea Corner Garage at Highcliffe, which unfortunately both garages are no longer with us. But and this is where from Sea Corner Garage that he ordered this Ferrari from.
And so that's why we've got these lovely sort of
Yes.
period
Yes.
invoices in the
Invoices,
file
yes.
with reference to. I mean, at some point he did put the number plate WRU1.
Yes, that
on
was
the
he
car.
already had that,
Yeah.
and that went on to another car.
Yeah.
So,
And then RU20 he retained.
yes, once he got
Because-
that number.
Because he didn't hang on to WRU1, did he?
No,
He let that go.
he let that go. The person that he sold it to wanted the number, so he let
So
it
it
go.
went on the short wheelbase.
Yes, and that was it.
And it
yes.
was never seen by him again.
No.
But he kept RU20, which was the
RU20.
original number.
Yes, because of the
It was a gift.
it was a gift,
Yeah.
and why it was the gift.
Yeah. Because of the founding of
Founding of
Maranello concessionaires as a
yes,
result.
yes,
But I mean, yeah, we look in here in 1962, he's already done 6,700 miles in it.
yes.
And, all these lovely records that have come.
I mean, obviously in those days, going through the forest and everything, it wasn't as busy and touristy as it is now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, by 1965, he'd covered 20,000 miles.
yes.
So,
So that's
you know,
quite
so
something.
yeah, it's quite
for
something
somebody
back
that
then.
didn't go very far.
You didn't go far, didn't go and see
See
people,
people, no.
so it
So
must have
it's-
been
yes,
all
yes.
driving for pleasure,
Pleasure,
really,
yes,
and
yes.
occasionally coming to London
Yes,
back.
yeah.
And so it seems he kept the car until about 1966, 67.
Something like that, yes.
Which I guess by then it was an old Ferrari and
Yes, and
time for the latest and greatest.
yes, to move it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the file for us continues right through up to the current day with
Yes, which
a
I
few
think is
DEC engineering
wonderful.
invoices
Yes,
as well.
yes.
Excellent. Well, look, thank you very much.
But this is such a nice find as well, isn't it?
Oh,
I think you should mention
So
it,
Yes.
I've seen that, but I didn't know what it was all
Yes.
about. So tell me.
This was Jim helped clear out a few of the bits of paperwork after Rufus died, and but John and I had to clear out the houses, and in amongst everything we found this, which I think should go with the
Oh, wonderful.
car. John has tried to clean it, so
So
it's
an original book pack.
original book.
And of course,
And in that, Rufus has actually written the chassis numbers and everything
there
else.
we go, chassis number
Yes.
1995
95,
GT,
yes.
engine number 1995 GT. Engine oils, different engine oil for the winter versus the summer.
Yes.
Gearbox oil, axle oil, and the filter numbers,
Yeah.
the Fram filters. Wow.
But we couldn't believe it. We were so excited. You know, it was in amongst all
I know,
paperwork.
but that was almost hidden, wasn't
Yes,
it?
because Jim
I
actually went through
did a
the...
massive clear out and
Yes.
I didn't see that. I was pretty thorough, but obviously
Yes.
didn't notice it.
No.
But
And
you know,
there's some other interesting things in there. The papers in there.
The
yeah.
papers,
So
yes.
so I guess
Extraordinary
this
thing.
is from sort of my experience. These, when it came to the short wheelbase, it was a limited production run,
Yeah.
170 cars approximately.
Mm.
They didn't bother reconfiguring it to a 250 short wheelbase. They just used a generic 250 Gran Turismo,
Yes.
i.e.
Look.
from
Yes,
a,
to
GT,
change
a
it,
GTE
yes,
or
yeah.
whatever it was, and just sent it out. And if it was slightly different, well.
You had
Ask
to
the
put up with
question.
it, yes.
Yeah.
But this, because he's written in the front here, and I guess you recognise his writing.
Yes, oh yes.
It's undoubtedly the original book pack for
Yes,
this car, which
yeah.
in this
It's
day
phenomenal.
and age, you know, who needs an
I
instruction
don't know
manual?
how he came to somehow or another retain it, but we're fortunate.
It's almost like he forgot to
Yes, to hand
hand
it
it over when
Yes.
he got rid of the car in
Car,
the
yes.
1966. But
Yes.
because he never threw anything away,
No,
It's still there.
it was
It's
going to
still
be
there,
there.
yes.
So we're able to
Yes.
reunite it with the car.
yes, which is wonderful.
And it's got these original documents from Ferrari, which are sort of in English, amazingly,
Yes.
but with the
And in foolscap rather than A4
Yeah.
sheets.
and with the Cavallino at the top here.
Yes,
But it's in English,
yes.
and it's almost a fool's guide to running the car. When do you first need to do an oil change? 932 miles.
That must be a translation of kilometres, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
they
yes.
expect you to service the engine
Yes.
every 2,000 miles thereafter. Or the second oil change at 1,800 miles, and then after there, yeah, every 900 miles basically.
Yes.
A short wheelbase needed a service, according to Ferrari. Must remind our customers of this.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, you're more than welcome. So,
It's just wonderful that it's reunited with the car,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes.
Which is where it belongs.
and it is such in good condition as well.
Yeah.
And as I said, you know, this is very generic in terms of the fool's guide, as I called it, because
Yes,
it's for a Pininfarina 2+2, so it shows the longer wheelbase. It shows 15-inch wheels, not 16-inch wheels, but that's what they did.
Yes.
You know, Ferrari were
yes.
very like that. They said,
Yes.
well, you're buying the best car, but we're not going to do anything special more than
Right.
give you this really special car.
Especially in those days.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is there.
So this here will be the guide of all the different dealerships, so that when you're driving through Europe and you've got a problem, you know who to contact. But wonderful. There we go. Well, thank you very much for that.
Well, you're
But I
very
think we should-
welcome.
We should go and have a look.
Wow.
Yes.
Come on, let's.
Yes, let's.
go and do
go
that
and have
then.
a look.
Yes.
Leaves off to you. So here it is. I'm sure you've seen plenty of photos and videos of it so far, but
We have.
Ah, yes, but I've never seen it in the flesh.
well, Luke, if you'll help me.
Thank you very
Oh, whoa.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, fantastic.
There you go.
Are you 20? How absolutely wonderful.
I think it completes it, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
And it would have been wonderful to show him the finished car, and I'm so sorry that we couldn't, but
Yes, yes.
I think he would have been pleased.
He would be absolutely over the moon. He would be absolutely over the moon to see it like that with the number plate.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Would you like to have a sit?
Please. Beautiful.
So this car, as we've already discussed, was very much a competition specification car from new. And during the restoration, we found so much more, like the aluminium floors that just hinted towards the car really should have had an aluminium body, but it didn't, had a steel body, which I think was for demonstration purposes, so it still looked immaculate when it was a year old, because the aluminium bodies would flex and crack and dent very easily.
Yeah.
But the things that are different are, that are visibly obvious, you know, it's got this open air tray.
Yeah.
You know, a standard road car would have had an air cleaner on it. And it had high lift camshafts, which you can't see, but even the carburetors are of a slightly superior over standard specification. Moving to the back of the car, it's got a long range fuel tank and that lovely outside fuel filler cap. So you've got that Monza filler that's very visible and open.
Yes.
The bucket seats in the interior.
What was it you said about the screen on your...
So the rear screen, so on the earlier cars, because this is a very early car, the air vent for the air to get out of the cockpit was actually in the rear screen.
Oh, right.
But this is the first car where they moved it to the roof. So in terms of its all-round specification, it's a bit of a hybrid, because it's got the vent there, not in the rear window, but normally you'd look at a car like this without quarter lights, with a fuel filler here, and expect that vent to be in the window.
Yeah.
So the sister car, 1993, that has it in the window, not in the roof.
Okay.
And also the number plate is recessed in the boot lid here. On 1993, the boot lid's one continuous shape and it's on there.
Yeah.
And something I'm sure that was never used, but a cool feature, is this quick lift jack. You know, this was for the and this was for the competition cars.
Okay.
And
yes.
so a road car would have had a wind-up jack.
Yes.
But what happened was that for the competition cars, they had this quick lift jack, which is quite literally what it means. It goes under there,
Yes.
and you can see
All right. Yes. Yeah. Wow.
that's how it works.
Yes.
So you do a quick wheel change.
Quick wheel change. Yes.
We bought the car at the RNLI auction and sold it very quickly afterwards to a very good, long-standing client and friend who had had another right-hand drive short wheelbase before, but always wanted this car. And I think he always struggled with people recognising it as the RNLI Richard Colton car.
Yeah.
So he used the car for 3 or 4 years, and we mechanically restored it, but we didn't cosmetically restore it. And he used it and enjoyed it, but it got to a point where it was the right time to restore it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was the right thing to do. And during that process, he made the decision to sell the car, and we bought it from him at the start of this year, halfway through the restoration, which is when we made the mistake that we talked about, where we painted it silver for 10 minutes. And, you know, because we were trying to get away from that Richard Colton thing. I don't want to take it away from the history of the car, but it's a new chapter.
But it might be best with the new number on.
Well, we didn't know about that at the time.
Yes.
So we were trying to create this new chapter.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of months of owning it and having continued with the restoration, the car had come back from the body shop, and we had a new customer who had bought a few bits and pieces from us, who came to see us and had seen it a couple of times but hadn't really said anything. And then one day said, "Do you know the right-hand drive short wheelbase? What are you going to do with it?" And we got talking, and eventually we ended up concluding a deal where he'd buy it, but he said, "But I want it to be as it was when it left the factory.
Good.
So it's got to go back to red." And you know, I needed someone else to tell me that, because before that it was just, I don't know what to do.
Yes, we saw the pictures, you know, in the video, and we thought...
Everyone thought it was an April Fool's.
Very
But,
much
you know,
so.
it needed to be someone else's decision, and it needed to be a new chapter. And then fast forward a couple of months, and we were able to have the conversation about the number plate and reunite it with the number plate. Well, that's a new chapter.
Yes.
Because now lots of people who have seen it have said, "Oh, which car's this?"
Yes.
You know, they're lost, they're confused by it. So, you know, I think it's fabulous that Richard had it for all that time, and that everyone recognises the amazing contribution that he gave to the RNLI. But today, as it is, it's back to 1960 spec, complete with original number plate that was gifted by the Colonel to Rufus.
Yes.
And I'm confident there's nothing apart from maybe a couple of stickers in the rear screen that deviate away from its original specification.
Which I think is absolutely wonderful.
And I'm so grateful that you guys approved.
Yes. Oh yes, certainly so. Yes.
Lovely to see it.
Yeah.
So we've had a good look round,
Yes.
but I think that leaves one last job. we should just go for a drive.
Oh,
Fantastic.
oh,
Come
great.
for a ride.
Yes,
Well,
that sounds
I
very
think
good.
we'll do that.
Yes,
I think we'll agree
yes.
to do that. Yeah.
Let's go for it then.
Fiona, you go first.
You go
must go first.
Is that close? No.
So I'm afraid there are no
No
seatbelts.
seatbelts,
Very
no.
period. So you can hear the fuel pump ticking, and then
Yes. Oh. Wow.
I think, as I said earlier, the difference between these and the Jaguar or the Aston Martin of its time is they were just so much better.
Yes.
You know, when we come to restoring Jaguars and Aston Martins today, it's all about the upgrades, whereas these cars need to be totally standard.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. On behalf of Rufus,
Pleasure.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all your help with the
Well,
little
we
details and
tried.
bits and pieces.
We tried,
Yeah, it's
yes.
been great
Yeah.
to fill in the gaps and the
Yes.
history and actually just pull it together as start to finish.
Yes.
What
yes.
this car's done, who's owned it.
Exactly.
You know, I think now we pretty. I feel like we know Rufus, but I think from start to finish, we pretty much know every owner
yes.
intimately,
Which is good. It's
you know, and
brilliant.
I hope that
Yeah.
for my sake as well, that I can continue to
Yes.
know everyone that gets to love and enjoy this car.
Yes. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.